Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sarah Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today, we're going to play with the Garden of Promises collection from our friends at Stamperia. Now, if you like gardens, flowers, and butterflies, then this vintage style collection is for you. So we have a pad of 8x8 pattern papers, and you get 10 sheets in here. And these have some really lovely floral designs, all in an elegant, kind of old-fashioned style. Beautiful faux texture and some print on here. Also some elements here that are easy to cut out and use on your projects. Lots of really nice versatile backgrounds and so on. There are also some cutout elements in here too. And I like how they have one side with words and images, and then the other side is blank so that you could add your own personalization on here too. So this is the paper pack. Now to go along, we have 2 rice paper sheets. We have the Garden of Promises flowers and Garden of Promises flowers texture, and we'll talk about how to use these. And then finally, we have a package of 47 die cuts, and you can see the images all on here. Now, these are a nice sturdy chipboard material, and they come, of course, in a variety of sizes. You have some sentiments on here, butterflies, florals, and just so much that you can play with. I'm also going to incorporate some acetate embellishments, some texture paste, and special glitter cardstock. So as you can see, we have a lot to explore, and I'm really glad you're here. Come play with us. Our first card is a simple and easy design that features the pattern paper, a cutout, as well as the chipboard embellishment and some die cutting. You can see that right here. So let's take a closer look at this. Now, one thing I want to point out is my glitter card base. Now, normally I cover the entire front of my blank white card with pattern paper, but Hot Off the Press has these glitter card bases. I'm using the silver for this one. There's also gold and some other colors too. And I think that they work really nicely when you cut out the pattern paper slightly smaller than the card front, and then just let this lovely glittery edge create a frame around your focal. So both the front and the back are that beautiful, sparkly, glittery, shiny material. And the nice thing is it's glitter, but it does not come off on your hands, on your carpet, on your pets and your children. So we love that. Now on the inside, it's smooth white, which means that you've got all of your regular decorating possibilities for this. So this was something that I had a lot of fun with for this webisode. These are 5 inches by 6.5 inches, and it just works beautifully as your card focal. So that's what I've done here. Now I've trimmed this piece of pattern paper down, and I wanted to add a little bit more sparkle, but a little bit more subtle sparkle onto this main piece of pattern paper. So I splattered the paper with Silver Moon Sparkle Texture Paste. This is from Creative Expressions, and I've used this a lot before, and some of you may remember this. These also come in lots of colors, and they are great fun to use through a stencil, which you might normally think to do with them, but they can also be splattered. So let's take a look at this. I'll set aside my card, and I'm going to bring in some just plain white paper, because I think you can see it a little bit better here. I'm also going to demonstrate this on black cardstock, so you'll see the difference there. Now, a couple of things you need to have on hand: your palette knife. I'm working on a craft mat. I've also got my Distress splatter brush here. I've got some water in a water mister, and that's going to get me going. So let me set these things kind of aside. And the Sparkle Texture Paste is really just this gorgeous medium. Again, it's got sparkle and glitter in here, but you don't have the issue of glitter sort of going everywhere. So it gives you lots of creative possibilities. So I'm using my palette knife to just decant a bit of this onto my craft mat. I'm going to close this up here and then add some water just in a little puddle right onto my craft mat. And then what I'll do is use my palette knife to create a bit of a watery wash with this. So I don't want it to be too thick, but I also want it to have some of the beautiful color and shine in here. So I don't want it to be too watery, So a few spritzes of water will do that. And then I'm going to pick up my Distress Splatter brush and just pick up some of this medium right on the end of my brush, and then simply splatter this across here. Now, the more water you use, the more of a diluted effect you'll get. So you can kind of experiment with some of that. And there you can see I've got some large dots and some fine misting on here. So this is it on white cardstock. Let me bring in a piece of black. Let's take a look at this. Again, just pick this up and then splatter this on here. As much or as little as you want. And it just works so beautifully to give you a really unique background. So you've got some sparkle and shine on here, but it is not too overwhelming, and I really like that about this medium. Then, of course, what I want to do is clean off my palette knife, make sure to put my splatter brush into a cup of water, and then, of course, my craft mat is easy to clean up with just a cloth. So I've got that all set and ready to go. So let's take another look at our card. I'm going to bring this back in. So you just need to let your piece of cardstock dry. It won't take very long. And then you can start assembling your card. Now, I inked the edges of this piece with some black StazOn before gluing it to the card front. And then I added some leaves, and now these are die cuts. I've got one here and one here. And this is from Hot Off the Press's Stems and Leaves cutting die set. And I'm using these guys here. And I've die cut these just from pattern paper and placed them down. And I think it creates some really nice movement in here. And then I've got the cutout as my card focal. This is from the pattern paper book, so this element right here. And I've got some ribbon underneath and then a butterfly chipboard piece. And then for my card inside, I have another strip of pattern paper. I've got another bit of die cutting going on here, some more of those leaves, and those just work beautifully on so many different card designs. Got a little chipboard flower here, and then of course my Dazzle sentiment. So that is our first card. Now I have another card I want to show you, and this one also features some beautiful pattern papers, some chipboard and die cuts, plus rice paper. So let me grab a few supplies and we'll take a look at this. Here I'm using another glitter card base, this time that gold glitter that I showed you earlier. And I love how it adds some warmth and shine to the overall design and really highlights the warm tones in these beautiful yellow floral images on here. Now the middle area is patterned paper, and that's the brown that you can kind of see around the edge here. And then also layered on top is a bit of rice paper, and this is from the Garden of Promises Flowers rice paper sheet. So I tore around the outside edges, then glued the piece onto that brown cardstock. So let's take a look at this process. It's really easy to do. I'm going to move this out of the way, and then we can bring in some of the pattern paper here. So here's one portion of the rice paper. As you can see, I've gotten into some other parts of this, but I think we can demonstrate with this floral on here. Now the fun thing about this is that you can really play with whatever surface you're layering this onto. So here you can see with this beautiful patterned design that if I layer this on here, I'm going to get a really gorgeous pattern showing through here. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So what I want to do is create a torn edge on here. I've kind of got a portion of one, but let me show you how easy this is to do. So I'm going to grab a wet paintbrush and just simply draw along the edge here where I want to tear that. So I'll just sort of lightly paint this on, paint on the water like so. And you can see how this is absorbing on here. And that's because that rice paper has a kind of a mulberry texture to it. If you remember mulberry papers, they have a lot of really nice fibrous elements to them, and they can be decoupaged really nicely. But what's nice about rice paper is that you have not only these beautiful designs on here, but also you have the ability to do some layering and gluing without any of the air bubbles you might have from traditional decoupage. So that's how easy it is to tear this element. And then what I'll do is just simply get ready to layer this down. Now, one thing you'll want to have on hand is some white glue. And I really like the Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue for this. So I'm again going to use my craft mat as my palette, and I'll just squeeze out a bit of this white glue onto that craft mat. And then I'm going to take a wet paintbrush, kind of add some water in here. You want it to be a slightly watery wash. Now what I'm going to do is apply my glue onto my pattern paper. And you might think, well, should I apply it onto the back of the rice paper? And you can do that, but I find that things are just a little bit more easy to handle if I'm applying the glue onto the cardstock or paper. It just means that I don't have something that's sort of wispy and full of glue that generally ends up getting stuck to itself. So I'm just going to paint this on here and then gently place down my rice paper and kind of smooth that out, sort of work to the ends here, the edges. Now if I have some edges that I haven't got glue on quite yet, just go back and add a little bit more, kind of go around those edges just to make sure that you've got all of the edges secured. You don't need to coat over the top with glue because it will stay on here beautifully. And that's all you need to do to use rice paper. Really beautiful and a great way to incorporate some layering and some different designs into your work. Of course, super simple to do as well. You just need to let this dry and then it is ready to be used on your card project. So I'm going to bring back in my original card and we can take another look at this. So again, I've got this focal element here with that layering on there. And then I've added the floral cluster chipboard die cuts. This piece here, I've got a butterfly and a sentiment here. Now I've got some elements up on foam tape to give a little bit more dimension, and then a bit of gingham ribbon. And then for the card inside, I have some more pattern paper. I have a postcard cutout from the paper pack and a butterfly chipboard piece, and then of course a dazzle on the inside too. Now I've got another card that I want to show you as well. Now this one is also incorporating some rice paper. And for this one, I did some die cutting too. And that's creating this focal area in the center. Now this process is really easy to do. And I first glued down the flowers texture rice paper to white cardstock and then let that dry thoroughly. So let me show you this. Now I haven't glued it all the way down because I wanted to show you that this is just right up onto some smooth white cardstock. So I glued it down exactly as you saw before. It's really important to get the glue all over the middle area of your rice paper and then let this dry really thoroughly. Then what you can do is come in with a background die. This is the double diamond background. Simply place this on here, secure it down with your double-sided tape and run it through your die cutting machine, and then you will have this beautiful double diamond area in here. Now what I've also done on here is added some tan cardstock in the background, and that's from the Sunflowers cardstock set. And I splattered that with the warm gold texture paste. So whereas we saw the blue before, this is the gold version, and that same splattering technique. Let that dry, and then you can add your die cut right on top. And the combination creates some really pretty and elegant layers, and it's a fun way to use your rice papers in a little bit different way. Then for my card inside, I have more pattern paper. I've got a chipboard embellishment, and I've got some script dazzles on here. And I've also got some of those little innies. Those came from the inside of the double diamond cutting die. So a great way to use some of those innies as well. Okay, I have one more card to show you. It's featuring another rice paper technique plus some acetate butterfly accents. Here I'm using a chipboard heart shape from hot off the press, and you can see the packaging here. These are really nice sturdy chipboard elements, and they work so beautifully in combination with rice paper. They're just a really perfect surface for that. So all I've done is applied my white glue on here, placed the rice paper on top, and then used scissors just to trim around the outside edge. And that's quite easy to do. And just tuck in any of the excess on that centerpiece of the heart shape and you're ready to go. Now I also did some inking around the edges here, and I added some of the Silver Moon texture paste. And I've done this in a slightly different way. Now we looked at splattering. This is simply painting it on. So again, I'm just going to get out a little bit here onto my craft mat. And I'm going to once again add some water here. Use that palette knife to create a bit of a wash, like so. And then what I'm going to do is take a paintbrush and then just pick up some of that and paint it on to my piece. Now the rice paper will absorb some of the water, so you don't want to flood it, but of course it will dry and it will leave that beautiful glittery effect behind. So you can add this all over. It's going to give a really nice subtle effect. So that's what I've done on the heart shape that you see on here. Just let this dry and you'll have a really pretty sparkly, subtly sparkly heart-shaped focal element. Then the heart is layered onto a piece of pattern paper with the Chantilly lace die, and this is also from hot off the press. I die cut this from another sheet from the paper pack and layered that on top. So I've got a really nice kind of central border strip in here. Of course, I'm using the silver glitter card bases, and before I glued that down, I inked this around the outside edges pretty heavily with silver metallic ink from Crafter's Companion. Now I have some chipboard elements that you see here, the butterflies and the flowers. I've also got some acetate butterflies. You can see one here and one of them here. Now these are from hot off the press, and they come in a package that looks like this. So you can see they're gold on one side and they are silver on the other side. So you have your choice of which kind of finish you want. And you can color them in lots of different ways. I also like to back them with some of Ye's clear glitter sheets. So let's take a look at this. Now you've got some big glitter sheets in here, and I like to just snip down a little piece of this. So you can see here's my butterfly gold and silver, and these just pop right out of the acetate backing sheet. So what I'm going to do is just gently pull this up from one corner from the liner, and I'm going to try and hold on to a portion of that liner so I have a little bit more control, and then I'll just put my butterfly right on here, pull the rest of this off, and there you can see I've got it on this side and I've got it on this side. So I can still decide which finish I want, and then I'm going to use a pair of scissors to just trim around the outside edge. And that is going to give me a couple of really beautiful butterflies. And you can glue these down with double-sided tape, and those wings can flutter up a little bit if you want them to. So really beautiful and easy way to add a nice accent on there. So then I've also got on the inside some more of that beautiful pattern paper. I've got another chipboard piece, and of course some more script dazzles on here. And this is our final card project for today. So a big thank you to our friends at Stamperia for this really fabulous Garden of Promises collection. So much fun to work with as always. And a big thank you to you for joining me today. We're so very glad that you're here, and we're really happy that you're part of the Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. Be sure to see the money saver on the right side of your screen at paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, just have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page, and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.